Hey, how are you? In this video, we're going to be talking all about you, and I want to share with you some information that's going to help you take a different perspective around who you actually are. So the reason I want to get stuck into who you are is because we're embarking on a new adventure in your life as we build a business to set you free, and creating awareness around what you bring to the table, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is going to be very beneficial in order for us to create change. And I want to invite you to look at yourself through multiple different lenses. And the other thing that I want to say right out the gates is I want you to be aware or beware not to get caught up in that wretched question, why? Why am I like this? Instead, I want you to remind yourself to say, how am I doing this? Or how am I not getting the results? How am I getting the results? Because when we explore the how over the why, our brain will automatically start to look for patterns and find solutions. Why is like a perpetual cycle that's just going to have our heads spinning. And the reason why you do things all has a logical cause when we take out the meaning and all the emotion from it. But really, exploring the why is not very effective in creating change. If we really want to create change, we need to know your patterns of behavior, and we need to actually ask ourselves how you are doing what you're currently doing, or how you are not doing what you would like to be doing, and then create a way for you to do what you actually want to do. It's a whole different thing. Let me just grab some water. So, speaking of drinking, I want to talk about wine for a moment. And I want you to imagine that you, my friend, are a fine wine. Now, I don't know if you're a wine drinker or not. I'm not a wine drinker. I'm a vodka girl. And I don't know much about wines, but there are people who are professional wine tasters. They're called sommeliers, I think, or sommeliers. Sommeliers, I think that's how you say it. Anyway, these folks get paid to sip their wine, swirl it around in their mouth. They don't usually swallow it. They'll spit it out. And then from just that small moment of experiencing that wine, they can literally tell you the history, where it was grown, the region, the family history, the vineyards, the type of grape, what the weather was like on the day that it was picked, how long it was distilled for or barreled for, and yada, yada, even the type of wood in the barrel that it was fermented in. And so these people know a lot about wines. And there are some people who know a lot about human behavior, but these people are rare. Most of us take humans on surface value and we become a little bit judgmental. It's a bit like me with wine. I know the difference between a red, a white, and a bubbles. That is my extent. There are other people that do drink wine that could tell the difference if they drank a white, whether it was a Riesling or a Sauv Blanc, for example. Me, I'd have no idea. Some people can tell the difference in the reds between a Shiraz, a Merlot, and a whatever other reds, Cabernet or whatever it is. Me, again, no idea. However, when it comes to humans, I do have a deeper idea because I understand, much like wine, there are layers to the human being. And so in this video, I really want to just paint out those layers for you. And then in the following videos, I'm going to talk you through a few different human behavioral models and psychological tools that will help you explore those layers for yourself. And I need to say it again, the reason that I'm doing this is not so you can go on a kind of nasal gazing journey of why you do the things you do, but more so you can create some awareness around how you've got to where you are today and what is required to get where you want to go. I really want you, when it comes to understanding who you are, is to approach this with a almost methodical or pragmatic mind, maybe even clinical if you want to look at it that way, And when I say that, it's more about really understanding that there's a logic and there's a pattern behind everything you do. There is a pattern for feeling happy. There is a pattern for feeling unhappy. There's a pattern for success in business. There's a pattern for failure. There's a pattern for leveling up each month. There's a pattern for getting new clients. And so all of these things work when you do the right things. If you don't do the right things in the right way, you don't get the right results. It's as simple as that. So without further ado, let me bring up my iPad and let's look at you as a human being, who you are, and the layers, much like the fine wine, that make you up. So this is you. Hey, you. Let's give you some feet and some hands. And let's give you some hair. Look, you look just like Sue. So there you are. And now let's look at, well, what makes you up? The fine wine that you are. So number one is your conditioning. And your conditioning really is everything you absorbed as a young person. And it leaves you with your beliefs about the world. You know, as a young child, between the ages of, 0 through to, I think they say 7 to 9, you're literally like a sponge. And these are very formative years. And just by osmosis, by absorbing everything that's going on around you, you develop a set of beliefs around what you believe is possible in the world and what you believe is impossible, what you believe is right and wrong, etc., etc. You'll also probably adopt some values or some importance around what you think matters and what you think doesn't matter too much. You'll create a sense of identity of who you actually think you are, and you'll also develop some skills, education, intellect, and all of those sorts of things. They come out of your conditioning. And we could even look at the conditioning as the nurture aspect to you. It's the stuff that's been nurtured into you from the people around you. The other thing that they say impacts us is the 5 people, it might not be just 5, you do time with. So there's a saying, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, which is really much like your conditioning as you grow older. And you'll find that that's actually quite true. The other thing is your behavioural style. And so there's some very interesting research that's been done and a great book on this topic called People Styles at Work, that explores not your personality profile, which is a different thing. Now let's see, profile, but your behavioral style, how you show up, how you behave on a day-to-day basis. And they say with the behavioral styles and the personality profile that it's a bit more nature. So this is kind of once it's in you, it's set. It's not necessarily changeable, although from my experience, these things can change slightly over time. But generally speaking, we won't have a huge dramatic change unless we have a big change in our lifestyle, and that can cause all sorts of transformation. But generally speaking, the psychologists that create these tools will say your personality profile and your behavioral style are fairly steady. What else do we have? For those of you that are into a bit of woo-woo, you might say, well, we have our past lives that impact us. We also have our DNA, the things that we inherited from our family. We have our conscious choices that we make through life, the goals that we set, the plans that we make, the decisions we have on a daily basis. In addition to our conscious choices, we also have our unconscious behaviors, which really are our habits, the things we do without thinking about it. What else have we got? We've got our archetypes. You can look at the work of Carl Jung, I'm not spelling this right. Let's try again. Archetype. Still not right, I don't think. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. So Carl Jung describes the archetypes as our collective consciousness. So we have our subconscious or our unconscious, which is the deep memories that sit in the back of our brain, and then we have our conscious choices, the things that we're aware of that we're actually choosing, and then we have our collective consciousness, which is the patterns of us as a human species, which is really interesting work to explore. And then, of course, we have our needs focus. And our needs focus goes back to the human synergistic circumplex. When we're focused on security needs, we will naturally become more defensive. When we're focused on satisfaction needs, we will naturally become more constructive. And so here, this beautiful fine wine in the middle, has all of these different things to consider. And when we consider them, we can look at two things. Firstly, awareness. And some of these things, I've written that in a place that we can't see. Let me change that. Let's put it down here. Awareness. So when it comes to awareness, let's make the awareness yellow. There are some things that we can create awareness around, but we can't necessarily change. Things like past lives. Okay, my Reiki healer told me I was impacted by this past life. I can't necessarily change my past life. Maybe you can. I don't know. I'm not a Reiki healer or a past life expert. But generally speaking, we would change our experience of that, or our memories, or our attachments to those things. DNA. Generally speaking, can't necessarily change. But again, even some people will say that you can absolutely change DNA through your health practices and things like that. What else do we just have awareness around? Behavioral styles, personality profiles, the nature stuff. The experts say that generally speaking, the idea of understanding those is not to change them, but to create awareness around them, so that we can accept and adapt to those default styles. So these are the things here in the yellow that we go, okay, the reason we do the work around these areas is really to just create awareness so that we can be informed, and then we can move forward and make better choices based on what we have, based on our lot, essentially. But then there are some things that once we create awareness can lead to change. And these are like our levers for change. If we want to get results, different results to what we're currently getting in life, then maybe we need to look to change some of these things. So if we're hanging around people who think that building a business is crazy and they're constantly telling us to just give up and get a real job, we would want to change that, because we're not going to have success hanging around those people. If our needs focus is all on fear and security, and we're feeling like we're being very defensive as we try and move forward and grow our business, we want to change that, and we want to move that towards satisfaction needs and become more constructive. Even though we can't necessarily change our conditioning from the past, we can certainly change the way we condition ourselves on a daily basis, and we can absolutely change our beliefs, our values, our identity, and our skill level, our intelligence, our intellect. All of those things are up for grabs and can be changed. And yes, even the identity. You know, I've seen people who have once held an identity of being a worrywart by nature get past that and change their identity, become an incredibly calm and confident person. Some people will say, you know, I've got a phobia. They hold their identity around their phobia of spiders, to then go, you know what, I don't have a fear of spiders anymore. So we can change all sorts of things. I can change from being a clumsy person to an athletic person, from a person who's very unfit to being a fitness junkie. All of these types of things are up for grab. And of course, we can easily change our conscious choices. We can create new goals. We can write new plans. We can make new decisions. And we can also dig around in our unconscious behaviors and unpack the patterns of what's driving us there. And again, create change at the unconscious level to head us into a new direction. And then again, with archetypes, we if you study the work of the archetypes, we tend to go through these and change these through our cycles of life. So they're always changing. And we can actually, as we build your business and brand, choose which archetype we want to align that with. And the work of the archetypes is very fascinating because it's really drawing on that collective consciousness. And so it can be a very good unconscious way of aligning with your target audience. If you find your target audience fits in a certain archetype, then branding your business aligned with that archetype can be a really great way of becoming an incredibly sticky or contagious or relatable brand. So here we have it, the layers of you, the fine wine. And that's by no means a limited extension. We could go on for hours and hours talking about the different things that make you up. But what I want to do is I want to invite you to actually, not just for the month of March, but really for the rest of this journey, create awareness around the things that just make you up. And I'm going to share with you some personality profiling tools and behavioral styles models so that you can create better, have more awareness around what your lot is, what you've got to work with. And then I want to share with you some models and tools that might help you create change around some of these other things as well. How do we change our identity, our values, and our beliefs when we think that that's who we are and that's what makes us us? Won't that mean we're changing ourselves completely? Not necessarily. We just start to explore, are those things actually that have got you where you are going to be the same things that get you to where you want to go? Ultimately, what we're going to do by the end of this month is make sure that you have a rock solid life plan, business plan, and marketing plan. And around those plans, we want to develop the human that is both consciously and unconsciously capable of implementing those plans and achieving success. So in the next video, we'll come back here. In the next video, I'm going to go deeper into the behavioral styles model. And down below here, you'll see that I've also put some links of some different tests that are free that you can play around with. And the reason I do this is just, it's good to explore what are your natural strengths and weaknesses. What are your natural preferences, or what do you do by default with ease, and what are you likely to always struggle with or not necessarily enjoy? Once we have awareness around those things, we can make sure that we're building a business that's based on your strengths, not your weaknesses. And no matter what industry you're in, there's always a way to make it a strength-based business. So that's it for this video. Have a look at the links below. Take any of the free tests if you like, but I'll see you in the next video where we're going to be talking about behavioral styles, and I'm going to map it out to you in a way that will hopefully allow you to see the model for what it is and also be able to observe other people around you and realize that when you understand the way humans work, you don't always need them to fill out a survey to get an idea of what's actually going on. Awareness is everything. I'll see you in the next video.